Hello there, welcome to Bryan Lomax Movie Talk and my patron requested review of Apt Pupil, the Bryan Singer film. This was the third feature film from Bryan Singer, hot on the heels of the great success he had with The Usual Suspects and just before being hired to bring X-Men to the big screen. Joseph Lionel requested this one. I'd seen this once before, way back when, early 2000s, I think, was when I saw it. I liked it, but I didn't love it, although I was a Bryan Singer fan. And I would have been about 19, 20 when I watched it, I think. So, yeah, it's been some time since I'd seen it. I watched it again for this review. And I don't know, I think I had a different reaction to it this time around. I'm not quite sure I got it, to be honest, first time I saw it. But yeah, let's get into it. So it follows this character played by Brad Renfro, who has, since passed away. Very good, must be said, in this film. Reminds me of a young John Cusack. He looks like John Cusack in this film. And I don't know why I'd never not noticed that before, but yeah, he did. He reminded me of John Cusack throughout this. But anyway, he's really good in this role of this school kid who basically is smart enough to have worked out that a man who lives close by to him is a Nazi war criminal who's gone into hiding, changed his identity and all that kind of stuff. And he's worked it out. He's been smart enough to do so. And he confronts this old man, played by Ian McKellen. Again, brilliant in the role. Really great role for McKellen here. And rather than saying, rather than shopping him into the police, he decides to kind of blackmail him for stories, really. Stories about his time as a Nazi. Now I get the sense that this is to help him in his history class. I feel that maybe his motivations there to begin with are a bit muddy. They're not quite as clear as perhaps I would like. But certainly as the film goes on, we learn that this is a film about power and the corrupting influence of power. And one of the questions that Renfro's character asks at one point, I think it's him who asks it, it may be a teacher, I don't know, but the question is posed as to how it could have happened, how the Nazis could have happened, and I think what the film is essentially saying is that given the right conditions or the wrong conditions, it could have been any of us. Any one of us could have been just as abhorrent as the Nazis. But I think the film is saying that we get that way through power, or the love of power, the chasing of it. Because we see this kid kind of exert this power over this man, and I think as the film goes on, he loves that bit more. And as this is a man, a very smart man, it must be said, who won't be held over a barrel, he kind of works things out, kind of tricks the kid, gets one up on him, gets that power back. Like I say, it really is a power game between the two. And when he does, I think it kind of awakens something in this lad that I think he sees something of himself in this old man, and the two of them connect. It's almost like a love story, and it's no secret that Bryan Singer is gay, Ian McKellen is gay. There's definitely a subtext within this film that alludes to that. There's a scene in which Renfro's character is with a girl and can't seem to make certain things happen. And yet when he's with McKellen's character and he's talking about all this stuff, you can see that he's really, his mind comes alive. Everything about him just feels different. And yeah, certainly there's nothing overt between these two characters as to any kind of love affair or anything like that. But that's the way it plays, almost like this twisted romance that's kind of, this tit for tat between the two of them that kind of makes them grow closer. And of course, towards the end of the film, what we get is the result of an apt pupil, which is that he's following in his mentor's footsteps. By the time we get to the end of this film, we've got essentially a little Hitler in the making, which is quite scary, to be honest. I think ultimately the argument as to whether or not anyone could be corrupted is on shaky ground, even with this film, because when you look at the reactions that Renfro's character has to some of the stuff that McKellen is saying, I think the normal response would be repulsion. You know, you might ask the guy to stop, but right off the bat, this kid is interested, he's engaged, he's almost enjoying it, detached from it in some ways. It just kind of makes you think there's a screw loose with this kid even before he gets to McKellen, you know what I mean? I feel like he's already hardwired that way. So in effect, we're still left with that question, you know, like, was this kid predisposed to it, or was he literally manipulated into being that man, or is it just that a particular kind of mind can be manipulated, can be molded into a Nazi? You know, give this kid different teaching and he won't go there. He'll always be on that line, on the edge of stepping over something, but yeah, shielded from it, he might perhaps veer another way, but obviously he doesn't. But yeah, it's a really good film. It's based on a Stephen King novella, and I find that most of the films that are based on Stephen King novellas, the serious stuff that isn't horror, you know, you think Shawshank Redemption, Green Mile, things like that, Stand By Me, they tend to be his best work. If I'm being brutally honest, you know, like the best adaptations, I would say. I can't comment about Stephen King's books. I haven't read them, so that's not a criticism of King so much as the filmmakers that have adapted him. I just find that, yeah, his novellas that are based on serious stories rather than horror tend to be some of the best adaptations, I think, of his work, the best films. And this is no different. Definitely, as I say, I think this time around I got more the subtexts that were there, and I think I got more about what the film was going for, what it was trying to say, and for that reason I enjoyed it a lot more. I like Singer's style as a director. I like that he's not all about flash and bang, you know, he's not the Michael Bay school of filmmaking. He's more Clint Eastwood school of filmmaking. Let the actors do their work. And this does feel very much like a stage play in some respects, because, you know, it's not full of big action set pieces. Most of the film takes place either in the old man's house, Renfro's house, or at the school in the classroom. So yeah, it's very short on locations, and it's really just about the drama, about people in rooms talking and having things come out through their interactions. So yeah, I really like it, and I really like that Singer keeps it low key. One of the performances that really stuck out to me like a sore thumb back when I watched it originally was David Schwimmer, because when I watched it, the film takes place in the 80s. So Schwimmer's character, this teacher, he's got this kind of dodgy 80s moustache, and it just reminded me of Ross Geller in Friends, but a very particular Ross Geller in Friends. You know when they do the 80s flashbacks and we see him with the perm and the tash, and he's playing his keyboard and all that. And I couldn't get away from that. And I think because it was so close to Friends being at its height. I mean, this was released in 98. Friends was, in its 8th year? No, 6th, I don't know. It was sixth year, I think. It kind of came at the height of Friends madness, really. And that's all I could see. So it was quite jarring. It wasn't quite as jarring this time around. It's been a long time since I've seen Friends. Those days are kind of over for me. You know, I did that. And yeah, as is the case with a lot of films, time heals wounds. I don't know. But I think out of all of them, he is still the most jarring. And that's no offence to David Schwimmer. I love Friends. I loved him on Friends. but yeah, I find it hard to see him as anyone but Ross Geller. There are so few from the cast of Friends, to be honest, that have managed to break away from those characters, and definitely Schwimmer is one of them, unfortunately. There's a scene towards the end of the film which is quite hard-hitting as well, when McKellen's character, he ends up in a hospital bed, something happens, and he's recognised by this Jewish man in the bed across from him, and the reaction from that guy is it's really heartbreaking. You know, this guy's still a monster to this man. You know, it's not a case where he sees him and he puts his hands around his neck and gets his revenge. No, seeing this guy, hearing his voice, brings this flood of memories back, and it breaks him, you know, and the moment when he just kind of crumples to the floor and just puts his arm around this nurse and just allows all this, you know, years of emotion to just come out, it's really touching. It's really moving. So this is a really good drama. If you haven't seen it, I would highly recommend it. I think that it's quite a powerful film, and I think that it does kind of show you or give you an insight into the horrors of the Second World War without ever showing you them. You know, we don't need to go Schindler's List or anything like that and show them. That's not a dig at Schindler's List. One of the best films about the Second World War ever made. But all I'm saying is, all of this is just conversations. It's just, and yet it's still kind of, it's horrifying. To a large degree. So yeah, I'm going to give Apt Pupil a 4 out of 5. I think it's a much better film than I give it credit for when I originally saw it. As I say, I think that just comes with age. But what about you? Have you seen Apt Pupil? If so, what did you think about it? Let me and Joseph know your thoughts on the film. Leave them down below. Thanks for watching this video, and until next time, cracking.